Well,
True.
well, there you go. So, it's funny, Mr. Columbus, as we were planning this conversation with you today, me and Julian planned this out a couple of weeks ago. Julian asked me, what do you want to talk about with Charles Columbus? I said, well, how about we talk about, sort of the fall of Christendom, the rise of liberalism, all the way up until World War I and World War II. And here we are now. We're waking up this morning, and, people are talking about with this incident going on in Russia and the Ukraine that we're possibly at the start of World War III here. Now, I'll be honest, Mr. Colombo, I'm a little bit ignorant about the history about Ukraine and Russia and their border disputes. The one thing I do know from what some social commentators have said is what Russia is trying to protect in this sort of geo kind of political atmosphere is that flat strait in that region there where Hitler invaded Russia because it is a point of a clear path of invasion. They say Putin fears that American tanks and NATO tanks get right through and into Russia right there. Completely geopolitics is what Putin is trying to protect. That's the narrative I'm hearing. Of course, on our Western media, well, Putin is the equivalent of Hitler apparently now. I don't know who to believe. Do you have any thoughts on the current affairs that broke out this morning?
Yeah, I'll say. Firstly, as to who to believe, I'd say nobody and everybody. Uh, in the sense,
True.
in the sense that it's not as though everyone's telling the entire truth, and it's not as though they're all completely lying either. Russia certainly has been invaded 3 times in the past 150 years from the West. Russia also has a history of dealing very heavy-handedly, shall we say, with its subject peoples. Much less so under the czars, although bad enough sometimes, than under the communists. But of course, it's the Soviets who are the most in the immediate memory of Ukrainians, the Baltic states, the Poles, and the former Soviet bloc. Now, the other thing you've got to bear in mind is that since the fall of the Soviet Union, and especially since Putin coming to power, while on the one hand, Putin has been doing his best to resurrect Russia as a great power, during that same period, the West has undergone not just a transformation, but an acceleration of what was already there. I mean, if you think back to 1991 and the abolition of the Soviet Union, uh, we didn't have gay marriage. We didn't have wokery all over the place. We didn't have any of this drivel going on that has now become who we are, or at least who our masters are. Now, Putin, for a long time, seized, for want of a better word, the moral high ground. People forget that our current Cold War with Russia did not begin with their seizing Crimea. It didn't begin with Syria. It began in August of 2013, or June of 2013, when his parliament passed what was called the anti LGBT propaganda law. And that was when President Obama first began rattling the sabers. So ever since then, rightly or wrongly, and probably sometimes one, sometimes the other, Putin has claimed to be the defender of Christianity and Christian values against both Islam and Western decadence. We, of course, have shown him what's what by being as decadent as possible. And I assure you that one way to defeat your opponent's propaganda is not living down to it. That's probably not smart. If I accuse you of being a thief, your reprisal to me should not be stealing everything in sight. Don't do that. Not if you want to win the propaganda war. Now, the problem with that then is that for a lot of conservative-minded people, they are, shall we say, a lot friendlier toward Putin than they would be otherwise. That's one thing to bear in mind. Uh, how sincere Putin is, who knows? I don't. I can tell you that the more he meant his rhetoric in the past, well, the likelier his chances for future success. The other problem we have is at the same time that the West has been undergoing this transformation into wokery, the rulership in the West, the United States, Paris, London, Germany, etc., have been attacking the very elements of their societies, which they will depend upon to defend them in time of crisis. The deplorables are the people that go into the combat arms of the armed forces. That's just not very smart. And the height of stupidity came during the hot summer of burning love in 2021. Businesses are burning around the country, thousands of them. And apart from the media calling these mostly peaceful demonstrations, you had civic governments, quote unquote, defunding the police. And then not understanding when the crime rates went way up. I don't get it. I don't understand. So you basically have a Western rulership class that's stupid and insane and evil all at the same time. And I mean this very clinically. I don't mean it as hyperbole. Evil in the sense that we have no problem with infanticide or perversion or anything like that. We're fine with that. Okay. Insane in the idea that the vision in our heads is more important even than our own self-interest. So our masters would rather see women in combat than win battles. You know, let's lower the standards of the SEALs so that women can participate. Well, that shows a basic insanity. And then the third is, as I say, a basic stupidity. Against that, a man like Putin, who knows what he wants and is very determined to get it, how restrained is he going to feel? What kind of a threat do you think he sees the Western leadership as being? Now, he may very well have miscalculated because, as those who have opposed vaccinations and all that can attest, our rulership can get very nasty when they're upset. You know, they stamp their feet, they purse their lips. What that will translate into as real opposition, who's to say? You know, there are a lot of wild cards. How tough is the Ukrainian opposition going to be? I can't tell. You know, I'm all sorts of people are sending me videos from what's going on over right now, and you've got people using surface-to-air missiles and all this. How much is real? How much is Memorex? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It could be it'll be a quick victory. It could be that Putin is going to find himself bogged down. I will tell you this much: wherever the Russian army is doing well, wherever they're well organized and so on, we'll find out. And where they're inefficient and not doing well, we're going to find that out too. This is a big risk for Putin because any strengths he has, we'll see. Any shortcomings, we'll see. And a lot depends on the Ukrainians, of course, too. As I say, they may put up a hell of a struggle. They may roll over. Who knows? We'll find out.